You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Y&R fans, I've got your early edition spoilers for October 14th through the 18th. Phyllis is going to snap on Sharon, and Claire Newman finds herself torn. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and as we always do on early edition day, we're going to start with what's coming the rest of this week to set you up for those exciting spoilers for next week. With that in mind, we begin with the episode on Wednesday, October 9th. We've got Cole, Claire, and Victoria spending time together. They talk about the fact that Johnny and Katie are finally warming up to their big sister Claire and Claire's dad, their mom's ex, Cole. And Victoria is asking Claire about how it's going with Kyle. Claire doesn't really want to talk about it, so her parents wonder if it's already over. Victoria is worried that she advised her daughter to go slow, and that's messing things up. Meanwhile, Cole thinks Victoria is taking her own advice and holding back with him out of fear. So yeah, that's kind of awkward. Nick, Mariah, and Tessa talk about Sharon. Mariah says her mom is back at work and seemed to be doing well at a meeting. And Tessa and Mariah then talk about their nanny leaving town, and Mariah has an idea for a replacement. She makes a text, and then Claire shows up to meet them. They tell her about Aria and offer her the job, and she agrees to consider it. Sharon is excitedly getting dressed for her dinner date with Nick. She's dressed up. Faith is happy to see her mom happy. Camryn is there telling her, forget the date, call the cops, report Daniel. Sharon's confident the cops are going to find the evidence without her help. Nick shows up, and he's not dressed up really nice, like he wasn't thinking it was a romantic date maybe. So Faith heads over to Society to meet her sister Mariah and her wife Tessa, and they start talking about whether there's a potential for a Nick and Sharon reunion, and they're a little worried about it. Claire heads back to meet her parents, tells them about the new job offer. She's supposed to be going to work for Nikki, but Nikki hasn't circled back around to her, so they advise her, maybe hold off, check in with your grandma before you jump into that. Claire wants to know when Victoria is going to move her dad into the house with all of them, but Victoria thinks it's too soon. Chance shows up to tell Daniel he traced Heather's phone and says someone went to a lot of trouble to make it untraceable. I don't remember Sharon having that skill set, but okay. Drop it in the comments if you remember that. I just don't, for whatever reason. And Chance wants to talk to Lucy. Daniel doesn't want him to, but Chance says he's trying to build a timeline for Heather's last day to figure out what happened. So they bring Lucy out, and Chance is very nice and tells Lucy how much he always liked her mom, Heather. And he asked about if she told them her plans, whether she was planning to leave town. And then they bring up the fact that Sharon was very aggressive towards Lucy and Daniel, and that Heather intervened. And Chance asked them if there was any arguments about a possible move. That puts Daniel and Lucy on the defensive. Chance backs off and says he has one more person to question. We have Nick and Sharon on their dinner date, and he notices she's wearing earrings he gave her. They reminisce for a minute, and she tells him he pulled her out of the darkness. Then he brings her to her door, and she kisses him, then apologizes, and Nick says, it's fine. And then he kisses her. They go into the house. They're making out. They fall onto the sofa. And then all of a sudden, Camryn is there mocking Sharon, saying, Nick didn't even walk you to the door. All in her head again. And Faith is surprised her mom is home early. And Chance is then at the door to ask Sharon some questions about Heather. Thursday, October 10th, Nikki is in the middle of a negotiation and is very pleased when she gets the upper hand. Victor rides to Abby's rescue, probably something to do with her wedding plans. And Chance has a bunch of questions for Sharon about Heather. I'm sure it's more about the reported aggression and why she was confronting them. And Chance already knows about the car wreck, so I'm sure Camryn's going to be right there in Sharon's ear telling her to lie her butt off. Friday, October 11th, Victor tells Lily that things are changing, the rules are changing, and of course, this is all about their Abbott Chancellor plot. And once again, Lily thinks that she can contain this man, and he is 3 moves ahead of her. He's playing chess. I feel like she's playing checkers right now. I think she grossly underestimated him. Nate is back home to Genoa City with some surprising news, and this relates to the text he got from Amy Lewis. Jack talks to Claire and gives her a little history lesson, which is kind of interesting. Going into the week of October 14th through the 18th, we have Abby dealing with some challenges in her wedding planning. And we learned this week that Ashley should be back for the nuptials unless she has a setback at the clinic in Paris. I've seen a few behind the scene photos from the wedding. I did not see Eileen Davidson in them. However, there was a lot of people that weren't in them. Maybe they want her return to be a surprise. It'd be hard to imagine her not being there for the wedding. And at least this time, hopefully she's not going to wind up in the shower with the groom. So Claire may be torn soon on 2 fronts. First, on this job as a nanny for little Aria, and waiting on Nikki to firm up her offer, but that should resolve very soon. The other front that Claire is concerned about is being caught in the middle of this Newman-Abbott war. Her grandpa Victor has stolen Jack's son, Kyle, and of course, Claire knows Jack, Diane, the other Abbott. She spent so much time at the house, and she has this talk with Jack the prior Friday, and it really opens her eyes. And Claire may have the power to shift things for the better and diffuse things, at least from the Kyle and Abbott side of it. But Victor's not going to back down, even if his granddaughter begs him. So Nate showed up at the end of the prior week after following up on this text from Amy, and like literally decades ago, the last time we saw Amy, she left town to take care of her dad, Frank Lewis, but she was very deeply involved with Nathan Hastings Sr. before he got with Nate's mom, Olivia Barber, and made a baby and all that. Victor yanking the rug out from under Lily should be a wake-up call, but is it enough to snap her out of her recent string of bad decisions? Jill Abbott is on the way back to town, and consequences are in store for Billy and Lily both. Sharon was grilled by Chance in the prior week. I think she'll probably be able to deflect questions for the most part, and she may follow up on what Camryn told her to do and call in that anonymous tip on Daniel. Friday, October 18th, things hit a big high point because it's the 30th anniversary of when Michelle Stafford originated the role of Phyllis Summers in 1994. She hasn't been on the show for 30 years. There was 6 years she wasn't in the role. 1 year with someone else, and then 5 years with Gina in the role. But still, 30th anniversary of when she began, kind of like when Y&R did the 40th wedding anniversary of Victor and Nikki, despite their many divorces. So expect some flashbacks, and also for Phyllis to confront Sharon. Chance is already suspicious of Heather's death, but by this second week, he should know for sure that it's foul play, and Phyllis is looking at Sharon as the perpetrator. It's going to get awkward for Nick. Sharon is lost in this deluded crush on him again, and Phyllis is going to expect him to side with her, no doubt, given what Sharon has done. Audra has convinced Sally to fight for Adam, but he seems focused on Chelsea. And if Sally opens up to Billy about wanting Adam back, he's probably going to try and talk her out of it. Jess Walton is back as Jill Abbott soon. Valerie Pettiford debuts as Amy Lewis on October 29th in a recast role. And Brittany Sarpy is back filming as Dr. Elena Dawson. Should be a late October, early November return.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.